Hey, welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Just getting set up. Show will start. 20,000 likes. Please feel free to tap and share. And we'll be getting started as soon as we can. Come on up, Kindred. You want to be involved in the discussion today? Hey, no worries, bud. No worries. We'll get started at 20,000 likes. So if you don't mind just spamming the like button, I'd really appreciate it. I'm going to get this shared out real quick. Hey, welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. If you'd like to join the discussion, please send a follow, heart me, and a request, and I'll bring you on up. Hey, Loon.
Hey.
How you doing?
Pretty good. Sorry, I was doing stuff and then I lost the remote for the light. That was great.
Hey, no worries. No worries. No worries. If you wouldn't mind sharing out to some folks and hitting that like button a bunch, I'm still doing the get set up stuff.
Sounds good. Hold on.
RIP, you've got no bio. Put a bio in there and I'll bring you up. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. As soon as we hit 20K likes, we'll get the episode started. I'm still in the process of doing setup. Come on in. If you want to come up, drop a heart, me, and a follow, and my mod will bring you up into the box.
Okay, hold on. Is this because of what that Theo guy said to you?
Hey there, Blue. Alex, I
Hey.
see you down there. Come on up, man.
Theo was right.
Hey, Jasper. How's it going?
I'm here, but I'll be muted because I'm on a live with Poet.
Hey, no worries, no worries. We're having a discussion about mob mentality, critical thinking, and truth in the age of misinformation.
Okay, I'll be here as long as those aforementioned people are not.
Okay. Do me a favor and drop some likes and some shares and stuff like that. And I'm in the process of finishing setup, so I'll be starting the show at 20K likes.
Alrighty. Hey Sledge, just so you know, if I drop, I got a very important mental health call.
Yes, it will.
Hey, no worries. Do what you got to do.
Hey, you want to come up? Oh, wait, you are up. Hey.
What's up, everybody? I'm hosting a live. I'm about to tell everybody to pull up over here. But what's up, girl? Trilly, Loon? How are you? I hope everything is well. What's up,
Hey, what's
Sludge?
up, Alex? How you doing, buddy?
I'm amazing, bro. I'm, you know, a lot of shit going on, but you know me. I grab my popcorn, see what's happening. I try to help in ways I can. But other than that, I ain't gonna let life stop me from enjoying it. Every time,
That's what
you
I
know.
like about you, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you know, there are people that don't understand it, but when you understand this world is built with perfections and actions have consequences, I see the beauty in that.
Absolutely. I'm still finishing setup. I have a few more things to take care of, but I'll be getting the show started at 20K likes. If y'all wouldn't mind just tapping and sharing.
I was about to say, don't you have 18K amount of time to do it?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's why I was in the comments tapping first.
Before, so
I know. Oh yeah, I know why you upped it. That's good. That's progress. And I asked Alex, and he was, we all respect each other's lane and what we're doing and what our intentions are and what we're actually able to achieve and all that. And Alex is like funneling people over here because, like I said in his comments, and I said it's inclusive and I don't have mod powers. I think you actually did give me mod powers, but like I won't be exercising. And like, this is your whole show. You've been doing great things. Like usually people don't even humor what I got to say. And you're like, yep, that was it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, and because of that, it's very like you've been able to do a lot of magic here. The other night when I had to get off the panel, like that was legitimate. And I, you know, nothing, I don't ever feel, despite all the shit that I go through and do, I never feel overwhelmed. That's not even in my vocabulary. I couldn't even say it just now because I forgot what the fucking shit was called because I never feel it. But the other night, like my answers are legitimate. Like I don't be tooting my own horn or nothing. When I say I've never really experienced what it feels like to believe in this system, that's what I mean. Like never once did I ever once think any of this was legitimate. So I never had the anxiety of gaslighting. But what I did want to add to the gaslighting thing from yesterday was that the only thing that really, I guess, what I could say was bothering me about gaslighting is voting. When people say, you know, if you didn't vote, then it was a vote for Donald Trump. And if you voted third party, that's a vote for Donald Trump. Like that shit, that's some gross, wild, pathetic, nasty shit to me. And that's gaslighting at its finest because you don't even want to participate in this at all. And yet you are sitting here telling me that this is the best way.
Absolutely. Oh. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna finish doing some setup. Moon, get up here, bud. All right, I'm gonna finish doing some setup stuff. I appreciate you guys' participation. If you wouldn't mind, just tap, share. Show starts at 20K likes. I gotta finish doing some setup.
I don't want to be a bastard, but I feel like I should go into other lives that are just full of shit and be like, hey, yo, I know where there's a hot spot, bro. We could roll up on it like the clubs, like the nightclubs. This place is burnt out, man. Let's go over to this nice place I know where actually shit is. Because like you actually be having people speak and that people can relate to their stories, and they actually be telling stories that are real. And I tell people all the time, I would rather hear somebody's sad story or empowering story, but a personal story, than I would want to hear their political ideology, their leftist or righty views, their conservative or liberal views. No, tell me what you had for dinner. I'd rather hear what your spaghetti tasted like than what your fucking vote was.
Absolutely. I would rather talk about people's lived experiences and explain why these lived experiences are this way through educational materials with facts and sources and everything than to just hear people bitch about why they don't like certain people's ideas of how to stay alive. Welcome in, Mind. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm just finishing some setup stuff, and we'll be getting the show started at 20K likes.
I'm about to go on my backup account and do what Ivan said, but I'm gonna share it out as well.
All right, man. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I guess that's cake here. Got the classicals in the bag. I hear it. What's up, Moon Clan?
Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Please come in, sit down, get some taps and shares in. The show will be starting at 20K likes. I'm just finishing some setup.
Get to tapping, y'all. Get to tapping. I'm about to tap on both screens.
Putting in that fucking work.
Double time.
I'm gonna regale you with it. I'm just kidding. It's not unusual to be loved by anyone. I'm from Vegas, bro. It's not unusual to be loved by anyone.
Hell yeah. There are worse songs out there for sure. Better people, but worse songs. Let's see. Thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for being here. Please tap and share. We'll get the show started at 20K likes. And for those of you who are new to the show, hi, I'm Sludge Knuckle, and this is Interviewing Humanity. And tonight's topic is mob mentality, critical thinking, and truth in the age of misinformation. Have a seat. We'll get the show started here shortly.
Sludge, do you mind if I regale people with an article from my website?
Please go ahead, man.
All right, I gotta pick one. Give me 1 second. Have you guys heard The Privilege to be Patient?
I fucking love that one.
Yeah. Have you heard The Privilege to be Patient? Have I read that article here before ever?
Not here, but I think I've been over in your page and listened to it before.
Okay, let me see. This is me. All right. It says, this is called The Privilege to be Patient. Many people have the freedom to be apathetic, the comfort to be passive, and the privilege to be patient, while more of us do not. The individual does not have the luxury of patiently waiting. Hold on 1 second.
Presentations with kids around is so difficult. All right, y'all, we're halfway there. Keep tapping, keep sharing, and we'll be getting the show started in 20K.
Okay, sorry. Many people have the freedom to be apathetic, the comfort to be passive, and the privilege to be patient, while more of us do not. The individual does not have the luxury of patiently waiting for everyone to agree that the police do not have the right to pursue contact with any person for any reason besides them committing or being suspected of committing a crime. The wage slave does not have the resources to, quote, suck up not being paid an equitable wage for their time and labor. The sick and disabled do not carry some imaginary burden to, quote, stay strong, while the rest of us allow their suffering to be needlessly expanded. We don't have time to, quote, wait for our leaders to do something. The proud, patriotic, and patiently privileged go about their daily lives with little to no concept of how many people are affected by the withholding of beneficial medicines, treatments, and technologies by the corporate and governmental interests. They do not realize or accept just how orchestrated and deliberate this withholding is. Many people, even those being affected by this injustice, would make excuses for it, citing the loss of some election or blame this or that candidate or piece of legislation. The fact remains that all of us are being denied access to necessary beneficial medicines and technological advancements. These advancements range from adults being able to naturally grow new adult teeth with 90 days, these advances range from adults being able to naturally grow new adult teeth within 90 days, thus nearly nullifying dentistry as we know it, all the way to renewable zero-emission energy technology, all the way to enabling all kinds of disabled special needs individuals and curing diseases. The illusion of authority and capitalism and the perpetuation of the absurd notion that this is somehow a debatable topic is the only reason why these marvels of human brilliance are being occulted, reserved, or destroyed. The concept of patenting naturally occurring phenomenon or the methods of accessing them and or utilizing them is unconscionable, unreasonable, and unsustainable. For over a century and a half, discoveries, advancements, innovations, and inventions have been bought and dissolved or outright destroyed by the establishment. Cures have been suppressed, and people have been lied to about the morality and availability of these treatments that work. It's not about the ridiculously expensive cost of the harmful alternatives they offer. It's not even about the fraudulent nature of the way their system is set up. It's about the truth and reality. The truth is that no being or group of beings have the right to dictate or withhold anything, and anyone claiming they do is wrong and under absolute mind control. One beaming case in point is the way cannabis and cannabis research, or excuse me, I can't even say that shit. F1, F5, we love TikTok Shop. TikTok Shop's the bomb. Got me a pair of sneakers the other day. I didn't, but you know, whatever.
TikTok Shop is my whole personality.
It's that, right. I don't even know anything else. Like shop TikTok. You can say it backwards. Right.
Save 20% off on orders of $30 or more. Also free shipping.
Free shipping, yeah. Free shipping. So I'm going to say schmannabis. One beaming case in point is the way schmannabis and schmannabis research has been perverted, demonized, and criminalized. People these days like to use science to justify their bullshit worldview and then conveniently deny science when it suits them. Schmannabis research is research going back to the beginning of time is at this point fairly conclusive, yet most of the governments of the world have continued a unified war on the planet. On this plant specifically. The state/corporate influences have been at war with the sun, attempting to snuff out the solar industry and all renewables with endless bureaucracy, and it has worked. Find 100 random ordinary people and see how many of them have or use some sort of solar unit to power their home or apartment. See how many of them know anything about solar at all. Let me remind you that the year is, when I wrote this, it was 2121. The year is 2025. All aspects of society have been altered, but not nearly to the extent that it would be and could be and should be. Most people in the world cannot afford to be sick. Even the employed in most places in the world have very little assurance when it comes to the medical care and access to resources. The privilege to be patient, while millions of our family members suffer, is born of comfort and callousness. Let me say that again. The privilege to be patient, while millions of our family members, and I'm referring to our global family members, suffer, is born of comfort and callousness. Callousness is like when you work your hands so bad, the parts of your hand get rough. That's what callousness is. Most people are, when we were talking about people, our video games and music and entertainment desensitizing us. You can substitute that word, born of comfort and desensitization. The rhetorical arguments against the obvious ways humanity could remedy this are no more than old, worn-out records that won't shut the fuck up. We do possess the resources and the knowledge to end poverty almost overnight. We have the capability and the capacity to end the capability of others. Granted, mankind is still making progress to some extent, but that is in spite of, not because of governments, corporations, and the systems at large. The type of, quote, science, corporate or state-funded monetary science that mankind currently submits to cannot possibly yield the kind of results pure science can. On the microscopic level, monetary science ignores what does not make a profit. On the macroscopic level, monetary science enables the unaliving machine and even acts as its brain, ultimately arming itself with weapons of mass destruction. Their version of science always enables and enriches them and disables and destroys the rest. The world does not have the privilege of waiting for the ignorant to snap out of their trance. It is pure cowardice and laziness to allow this charade to continue. We at EvolvingSeas.com have been doing and will do and always do the great work. It is important that people do not consider the topics here as a certain kind of perspective or opinion. The truth is that we, the deprived, only ever had patience to begin with, and now that resource is depleted as well. As solutions-focused activists, it is incumbent upon us to spend time paying attention to certain aspects and taking things into, and then take a certain. Yeah. There it is. Paying special attention to certain aspects of the great work so that we may take things into accurate account. If we apply ourselves accordingly, we will be able to reverse the many adverse conditions that exist in our world and our communities. Anywhere in the system there is the withholding of beneficial knowledge and or technology must be exposed and dismantled. The only way to achieve equity in society is to facilitate abundance and access. Neither of those conditions are possible within any of our current outdated, obsolete socioeconomic models. Keep evolving.
Evolving Seeds, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get some hearts in the chat.
Muchas
for
gracias.
Seeds. Thank you everyone for being here. We'll get the show started, and at 20K, we can get tapping. Thank you very much.
That's how you know that we experience more suppression. Like, I'm amazed by how awesome your lives are, especially these structured, and how productive they are on a very personal level. And like, they're like, bro, it's diabolical how suppressed we are. Like, I forgot how to pronounce her name, but she comes in Alex's live and she's really open-minded in the sense that she can observe and analyze information without readily accepting or rejecting it. And that's rare. And she started being able to go live. She had three trial periods, 3 trial live days. And I told her, stop. She had like a prompt up like hours, like, let's talk about these things. I was like, no, tell them you want to talk about shopping and pop culture. Start your whole life around pop culture and shopping and like Asian women who look like they're in their teens or younger. And then you will have thousands of people. You will have hundreds of interactions per second. You will have hundreds of, like, we will have the interactions and then switch over to solutions focused shit and like real shit. But if you do that now, you're just going to be up here in the fucking sand dunes with us.
Really not a bad idea. I think I'll do that for tomorrow's episode. And just like put up some random pop culture shit.
Oh no, I mean, you can do that, but if you do it, you better come with a different account that ain't attached to yours, because I'm telling you, bro, it only takes, these people know what the fuck this is. They know the quantum physics behind it. They know that it only takes one person with one idea and to say it one time for everybody. Like, if I say the secret to life is XYZ, and y'all be like, and the people in this room hear it and y'all resonate with that shit, it now becomes your fucking truth. You're literally gonna go out there and be like, hey, I know the secret, it's gonna spread beyond me and my last breath. And they know that. So once you're suppressed on something like this, you're suppressed. I would argue that you can go buy a brand new fucking phone, get it out of the wrapper, and the minute that phone is around any of your other shit, it'll register and be like, oh, you think getting a new phone is gonna stop us from suppressing you? Ha 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 ha. Try again. And they're gonna, your one phone that you have in your hand will suppress your new phone. It'll literally impose suppression on your new phone. Like, it'll be like, yeah, this is him.
I don't know, man. I put up one of those fucking gaslighting images, like argue about this fucking orange and it's like a banana or a watermelon or whatever. I've tripled my viewpoint in like an hour.
Oh, wow. I mean, yeah, do it. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying, if anybody, only reason why I don't start another account myself is because I actually believe that that's how it works. Because I've gone through 3 phones in the last 4 years, and every time I use the new phone, even though the old phone be broke or whatever, the screen cracked, I use it to, play my videos in the background or whatever. And each time, these phones, even before I put my Gmail in there, or if I came over with a new Gmail for the new phone, it would acquiesce. I would get the same amount of suppression. Like, I was being suppressed before all this. I would put something in on YouTube, and like it to this day, it's like we are suppressed, bro. But you should wear it as a badge of honor. Trust me, Sludge, you're suppressed.
Oh, I
You
know.
are
I
super
know
I
I
have
am.
a
impressed.
question then. If
What's up, Blue?
Yes.
it sounds to me like there's no hope for us then. What's the
Mm-mm.
point of okay, I'm gonna tell you, I'm not suppressed. I can make something of myself. I'm sorry, I can't sit around saying, oh, poor me. Yes, I've been having bad few days. I got it. But you know what? If you're gonna sit around and, oh, I'm suppressed,
No, we're suppressed online.
well, yeah, but you all know what can happen when you're online. So
Mhm.
I don't, I'm not judging people, but let me,
We need
I-
a
Let's
new
think about
app.
this.
That's my solution. Is a whole ass new app that pays 100% of its profits to mutual aid and activism and sustainability in general.
So according to this, the way to quit being suppressed is how is anybody going to make anything of themselves if what I'm paying to you is going out the door to I believe in helping yourself first. If you feel you're suppressed on an app, instead of going to make a new app, work on what you feel is suppressing you on this app.
It's an
Or
algorithm on
any
this app.
Or
It's an algorithm on any app. It's an algorithm. You ever seen that movie Eagle Eye with Shia LaBeouf? Shia LaBeouf, however you pronounce it. It's called Eagle Eye. It's basically an algorithm that tracks faces and tells you wherever people are on the planet. The same type of technology that they're using to track so-called terrorists and criminals is the same technology that they're using to track what we say in these lives. So it's not a point of just, oh, if you don't like it, do X, Y, Z. The exact problem is that it exists in there. Who
Okay.
benefits from that?
But you can't sit around saying poor me. It's an algorithm. I have
Right,
no
nobody's
idea.
saying poor me,
I'm
poor me.
not-
My dear Blue, no one is saying poor me.
Well, okay.
We're pointing it out because a lot of people don't even know it exists. There's thousands and thousands of people using this app right now who have no
I was
idea.
just trying to explain what I was getting out of this, but
Okay.
you know, because
Go ahead.
right now I am.
Go ahead, Blue, take your time.
No, but what I'm saying is if something you feel something is broke, instead of running away from it, fix it. If you feel the algorithm is okay, I don't believe in running away from something because it's broken or I feel it's broken. I feel
Me
if
either.
you have the time to sit here and say it, and not saying you guys, but anybody, if it's broken, sit down and try to fix it. I don't believe being upset with the algorithm here is going to get any better if you start over here. The problem will follow us wherever we go if we're not willing to be part of the solution. To me, my personal opinion,
Ain't that the truth?
is
No, that's
if you're
100%
not
truth.
part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
Can
And
I give you
Make sure you
an
guys are
example real
tapping,
quick?
please. Tap, 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 lady, tap, tap, tap.
That is how I feel.
Can I give you an
And-
example real quick, Blue? Just really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing this thing for a good few years now, and I've recognized that the algorithm is very heavily built towards suppressing the flow of actual, like, truthful information. And I had gotten to a point with my account, the last one, that I was making exponential growth rather quick towards the end there, and the algorithm just shut me down entirely. No warnings, no nothing. It's less so that it's broken, and more so that that's exactly what it's designed to do, to press or to push sensationalism and things like that, so that people like argue more or are stressed more often instead of just educating themselves and feeling empowered. You know what I mean? The algorithm doesn't like empowerment. Which, like, I can't do anything to fix that because I don't have access to the code for TikTok, but I'm gonna keep doing it.
But that's where you need to push yourself out.
That's what I'm doing.
And I don't mean, when I say you, I mean everybody. If To me, it's pushing. I guess what I'm trying to say is, instead of dropping everything because it gets rough, why don't we stand together and push if we can? Now, I'm not an expert on tech or anything, and I'm just voicing my opinion. Work together to change the algorithm if we can. I mean, and this is how I feel this is doing here. These lives, you coming into my life, standing together. But I don't see running away and starting. And myself personally, I just want you all to know these are my opinions, so it doesn't get out of.
So TikTok released a kind of like a statement on how the algorithm like works, and a friend of mine made a video, like an instructional on how to manipulate the algorithm, and I did do a post with the sound on it.
Okay.
And after the live, I'll tag you in and whatnot. But it literally comes down to the engagement. If the people who follow you aren't engaging in a specific way with your posts and your lives and stuff like that, it tells the algorithm that this is not sensational. You know
Well,
what I mean?
and that's what I mean. We need to stand together and push out your engagement. Okay, more engagement. How's that sound? Is that
exactly.
you know, going to Seed's live page and read his posts and like his posts, standing together. But
I agree with you, your boy Blue. But also I also understand that, you know, like the way the system is built, they utilize social media. Like he said, they only push forward certain lives that are more, how do I say, like messy, what we say messy, right? Sensationalized. So all these
drama.
like FBA, women versus men, those are the ones that are being pushed forward for a reason, and it's because they utilize platforms like social media, also TV shows, right? They use that as a way to divide us and to keep us ignorant, you know.
I have a question for Seed when we get a moment, if you don't mind, Sledge.
Yeah, go ahead, Seeds. Are you available to answer your question at the moment?
Are you? And it's nothing. It's just.
He might be away tending to his kids
If
right
not,
now.
I respect.
He might just be tending. He might be tending to his children right now. Give him just a minute.
Oh, okay. But my thing is, why do you think they put sensationalism out?
Because it creates division.
Yes,
the whole
and
thing. So
that's
I'm going to
the
be addressing this. I'm going to be addressing this in tonight's episode. Because
I'm sorry. I guess I got ahead of you. Sorry.
No,
about
you're okay.
that.
You're okay. No, I'm really glad that you're asking this question because it does pertain to tonight's show. Finding truth in the age of misinformation. We're going to talk about the concept of bread and circus.
Yeah. And I do have to apologize to Seed. I just get a little heated, and I need to apologize to everybody because I do get a little heated. And
I appreciate the self-awareness, and I also understand where you're coming from, and I will let you know right now that it's okay to have emotions. No one's going to blame you for having emotions. I do appreciate your apology from my standpoint.
Yeah. Okay.
You are loved, and you are valued, and your worries and concerns are valid.
I will be right back. I gotta go let my dogs out.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
I'll keep a box for you.
Blue.
Damn it, bro. Yeah, Blue is one of the sweetest human beings. they really don't want to like cause any waves or anything like that, and they have really really valid concerns, especially given the era they grew up in and whatnot. And like this is a good place for education and getting people up to date with what's going on in the world. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate y'all. We're sitting at 18.5 or 1.5K taps away from starting the show. If you wouldn't mind, just tap, share, and we'll get started here shortly.
Nate, make
Please.
sure everybody comments gets to 20K.
Please share the live too, because it's worth it. We're not just like a lot of people say share the live and their platform is shit. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Their platform is feces. So this platform is very, very, it's a very safe space. Sludge Knuckle monitors it and is a very gracious host. So when I say share this shit, I mean it like is deserving of your peoples to be here and even participate if they want to come up. This isn't that type of panel. We're not looking for opposition. We're looking for discussion.
Discussion and cooperation.
Test, can you hear me? Test.
Please share to 10 or more. Yes, we can hear. I can hear you, Coyote.
Coming through loud and clear, Coyote. And thank you, Seeds, for that endorsement. I really appreciate you. Hey, Banish, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. I'm just giving up on the route I was taking.
Yeah?
I'm having luck finding a good ride on it, so I'm just gonna go east, wait for my train dad to get down here from Northern Cal, and we'll just go catch back up together.
Okay. Hell yeah.
So how you been, man?
I'm all right. I'm hosting a show tonight about mob mentality, critical thinking, and the truth in the age of misinformation. If you're interested, stick around, man. This is going to be a pretty informative. Kindred, what? What do you mean, Kindred?
I'll definitely stick around for that.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah, please do. Just so you know, this will be kind of like a rotating panel, so some folks may get dropped out for a short period of time to bring another person up for a perspective, but please just stick around. I will be sure to make sure everyone gets to come back into the boxes.
You're on 20K. Are you on 20K?
I am on 20K.
Yay, we did it,
Thank y'all
y'all.
so much. Thank y'all so much. Good job, everybody. We made it to 20K. The episode will be starting now.
Yay, me.
Grab my book. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Interviewing Humanity. I am, as always, your host, Sludge Knuckle. Tonight we have a rotating panel of guests. Please, guests, introduce yourselves, starting off with Loon.
Hi, I'm Loon. I don't know what else to say.
Your age, where you're from, what your expertise in the world is.
Oh, okay. 22. I'm in Texas. I feel like I'm just a normal person who cares about people.
Valid enough answer for me. Banish, mind introducing yourself?
I'm Banish. I'm 30. My expertise is just, traveling and getting around the country.
Yodi, would you mind introducing yourself to the crowd, please?
Hey, what's up? I'm Joe. I'm a hoe, and I'm old enough to know better. What's up?
Yo, hello everybody. My name is Alex. I am 25. I used to sell cars, and I learned from the finance side of things how messed up capitalism was, and now I host platforms and whatnot, and try to do some good in this world type shit.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate that, buddy. Seeds.
EvolvingSeeds.com, solutions focused activist, 41. I'm in Colorado. I am versed in social justice. I'm versed in environmentalism, intentional communities. occult knowledge and the scientific method and application to empathetically to socioeconomic concerns.
Thank you very much. Mind, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Mind Your Bumbleclap Business. Y'all can call me Mind Your. Yeah, I'm 33. I'm from New York. Currently living in the city. From healthcare, and I think I just love knowledge. I like learning. So yeah, and I have ADHD, so don't mind telling me to shut the fuck up if you have.
Hey, what's up, neurodivergent twinsies? Hey, Kindred, would you mind introducing yourself?
I'm Kindred, 33, from Texas.
I appreciate you. And again, I am Sludge Knuckle. I'm your host here at Interviewing Humanity. So today's episode is about mob mentality, critical thinking, and truth in the age of misinformation. So we live in a world where information is instant. Hold on, let me turn this music off. That is distracting. So, shut the hell up. Thank you. News spreads in seconds. Opinions become facts before we even have time to ask, wait, is this actually true? And before we know it, we've already formed a belief, shared a post, joined a side, or taken a stand without ever stopping to think if what we believe is based on fact or manipulation. It's not just about misinformation, it's about why we believe things so quickly. Why do we get swept up in emotions instead of analyzing facts? Why do some lies spread faster than the truth, and why is it so hard to change our minds, even when we're shown evidence that proves us wrong? Tonight, we're tackling all of this. We'll be exploring how misinformation spreads so easily, how mob mentality overrides rational thought, why we cling to false beliefs even after they're debunked, how the media controls what we see and think, the impact of confirmation bias on our ability to recognize truth, and the ancient concept of bread and circus, which is how distraction keeps us from asking the real questions. So here's what makes tonight one of my favorites. Everybody in this panel, regular, everyday human beings. No experts in any field aside from communicating with each other. So instead of a lecture, this is a guided conversation. We're going to break down things in a way that makes sense for all of us, and together we'll be learning, questioning, and challenging what we think and know. And as always, afterwards we'll be opening up the floor for audience Q&A and interaction. So start thinking of your own questions. Let's get into it. So let's start off with something we've all seen: mob mentality. You've probably experienced it, whether at a concert, a protest, a viral social media moment, or even a family argument where suddenly everyone gangs up on one person. Mob mentality, also known as herd behavior or groupthink, is when people stop thinking critically and start following the crowd. Sometimes this happens in fun, harmless ways, like chanting in a sports game, but other times it can be really dangerous, like when misinformation spreads uncontested, or when people join in on online harassment without stopping to question if what they're doing is right. So my question for the panelists, and those of you who are new, we're going to do this one box at a time, starting up the top left, and we're just going to work our way down, okay? Before we dive into everything, my question is, how would you define mob mentality in your own words? Loon?
Honestly, I think mob mentality is kind of when everyone starts believing a collective idea just because the people around them are. Like, say you align originally on one idea and then you start eventually shifting some of your beliefs to fit what the rest of the group also believes as a majority, just so everyone becomes more and more of one single committed group.
Thank you very much. Banish?
Mob mentality to me is, all I can think of is my deal with lies. When, say somebody says, hey, let's do this, and goes one way, and they say this is the smartest way to do so, even without having any backing with it, they'll just say that, and the group will follow in. And I've seen firsthand how it gets dangerous. People sometimes get arrested, some people get injured and whatnot. But that's what mob mentality mainly is to me, is people blindly following the herd like a sheep, and regardless of safety or any risk or whatnot, in disregard for their own personal safety or others.
What does mob mentality mean to you, bud?
Mob mentality means to me kind of like mass hysteria or basically like frenzy, almost like a feeding frenzy, like blood in the water. You know what I mean? It's just, it gets you like electricity in the air. You can feel it. If you ever been to a sideshow or if you ever been to like a rally or like a protest, you can feel it in the air, man. It's thick. You can almost cut it with a knife.
Very accurate. Very accurate. Alex?
Can y'all skip me? I'm on the phone right now. Sorry.
Absolutely, buddy.
I'm listening
Steve?
though.
It's me.
Yes, sir.
I think you're cutting out too, Sludge.
Yes, sir. The question is, what does mob mentality mean to you?
Mob mentality to me is a remnant of a psychological, instinctual trigger that it was at some point in human development was supposed to be a mechanism to bring us closer as a community. And as usual, we took a tool and turned it into a fucking religion. So now it's just ingrained as this default. To me, it's a default mechanism in the human psyche that's a remnant from when we were less evolved.
I like that standpoint. Thank you very much. Mind?
So I would agree with what everyone said. I don't know if it was Banish or Coyote, but they said herd or the hive mentality. I like to simplify things, but I see mob mentality as followers. They're just following and going along with what their circle of peers are doing, or even like social media and social trends. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, and we will be addressing some of your point here in today's show. Kindred, what does mob mentality mean to you?
Just a way for when people think the same, just so they don't stand out to be targeted.
Valid. And Blue, what does mob mentality mean to you?
I think lack of being self-aware and just following blindly. Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Blue. I appreciate you. My next question for the panel, have you ever been caught up in mob mentality before, and what happened? Loon? I was asking Loon.
Sorry. Yeah, I have. I feel like everyone gets into like a little bit of a phase where they want to start buying clothes to fit in, and I definitely have that part in my life. Not exactly my favorite to look back on, but you know.
I mean, fair enough. We all have moments in life we're not super proud of. Banish. Have you ever been caught up in mob mentality before, and what happened?
Yeah, I've been caught up in mob mentality, especially recently. It's more of me accidentally starting it. People they'll follow my actions because I know what I'm doing with what I'm doing, but they'll try to follow me and then turn around and realize, oh, everyone's following me blindly. I'm like, hey guys, just go back over here. Like, don't do this. And they still try to, regardless of the simple truth of they weren't ready to do some things I was doing, and end up half of them got arrested and whatnot, and I felt bad about that.
Very good point. Sometimes following the crowd will get people into a lot of trouble. Alex, are you available to answer? I'll take that as a no. Seeds.
Question again? I remember it was a good one.
The question is, have you ever been caught up in mob mentality before, and what happened?
Oh yeah, it was horrific. It was terrible. I was a terrible person. Like, people think that I just be talking shit. Like I just woke up, or I've always been smart or so-called smart. and so-called less harmful. But when I was in third grade, there was a girl named Beth Ann. I still remember her name. And it was so bad, the bullying that happened to Beth Ann in that time period was so bad that if Beth Ann touched you, your life was over, officially over. Like literally, nobody would talk to you for months on end, if ever again. And like it was just horrific. And this girl did absolutely nothing to deserve that. And so I didn't go out of my way to participate, but I definitely didn't stand up. I definitely said a few things that I had no business saying. Not like I said out of my way, but in response to like being seen as the one who would stand out and not be treating her this way. And it was so bad that I literally saw her on Facebook one day, years later, like 20 years later. This is like maybe 5 years ago versus third grade for me, which is like 30 years. And I hit her up on Facebook and I sent a long ass message. It was long apology. And at the end of it, it says, and I completely understand if you don't respond. And she did not. So like, yeah, like that's it. I came to a lot of my awarenesses through the trials, and that was one of them. That's one of the ones I'm ashamed of.
Thank you for sharing, man. It's a valid point. It does start when we're very, very young. Oh, Yodi just dropped out as I was about to come to him. Okay. Would you mind, have you ever been caught up in mob mentality before, and what happened?
Yes, I think we all have, whether some of us, want to accept it or not. We do it every day through consumerism even. But one instance that I do remember, it also dates when I was younger, and how, because you want to be accepted and you want to fit in, you'll do certain things, like maybe bully others. But I also remember at a young age, I was very self-aware and I didn't like that guilty feeling. So that's when I made my decision that I was just going to do me and do as I feel is right or wrong. So yeah.
Thank you very much for that input. And real quick, I'm going to get over to Coyote Joe so that he can have his turn, because I totally did skip over him. I apologize, Joe. Have you ever been caught up in mob mentality before, and what happened?
Yes, I have, boss. So there was a thing we used to do back in school where we get the boys together and we get about 12 of them deep. And when two people have beef, we take them out to the park, circle and make them throw them hands. Force scraps, basically. Yeah, make the boys run the fade. Mob mentality every time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very, very good example. Kindred, have you ever been caught up in mob mentality, and what happened?
Yeah. Well, kind of helped push one of the weaker sellers on our team off. We pushed her to quit because she was doing horribly. Kind of felt bad afterwards.
Valid. And thank you for that example happening in the workplace. I appreciate that. And Blue, have you ever been caught up in mob mentality before, and what happened? You boy Blue?
Oh, I'm here. Sorry, it took me a minute to hit the button.
No worries. Okay.
Yes, but in a different way. I'm going to give a different example. I'm going to say in the consumerism. I can't say that word, so bear with me. Consumerism, buying.
You had it right.
Okay. So yes, and it's the I feel it's mob mentality when like new shoes come out and you blindly follow people saying, you need these to be like, I can't think of a better word, so if somebody could help me out, like be in the it group. To fit in. Yeah, to fit in. So I have been part of that, and doesn't make me proud. That's for dang sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that example, Blue. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome.
My third and final question for this specific segment. Why do you think people are more likely to follow the crowd than to stop and think for themselves? Literary Loon, please.
Because being different is societally bad. It's seen as a societally bad thing to not fit in. There are disadvantages to that. And you see that in a lot of, the behavior now in America where it's them versus us attitude. And it's because people are different.
Where them's at, we'll fight them. It's us versus them.
Thank you very much for that example, Loon. Banish. Same question. Why do you think people are more likely to follow the crowd than to stop and think for themselves?
I feel like it personally it can stem from there's people that have that natural born like leader mentality, and then they can go all day long with it, and then there's a lot of people that get tired by trying to take that leadership mentality of always having to make choices and whatnot. So it's a lot easier for some people to just fall behind somebody else that kind of who they believe knows what they're talking about versus trying to go out and formulate their own type of thought and opinion and actions. It's just like a little easy escape.
Thank you. Thank you for that standpoint. Coyote Joe.
Yes. I think it's because most people are in the 85 percentile of the follower. Also, it's easier for our brains not to think, make critical decisions on themselves, and just do something that someone else tells us. We don't have to hold responsibility of it. We're not the one who started it. Nobody wants to start a slow clap. Nobody wants to be the first one to answer the question or raise their hand. And nobody wants to think. That shit sucks.
Very valid. I appreciate that. Moon Clan. Why do you think people are more likely to follow the crowd than to stop and think for themselves?
I'm sorry, please repeat that again.
Why do you think people are more likely to follow the crowd than to stop and think for themselves?
It's easy to follow the sheep off the cliff, you know what I mean? And it's the monkey see, monkey do.
Okay. I appreciate that. Seeds.
Well, it's funny that the other individual said monkey see, monkey do, because there's actually an experiment that if it's not more than a minute, I would like to, well, it's a minute and 26. So this is what I have to say. Go ahead, man.
A group of scientists placed 5 monkeys in a cage and in the middle a ladder with bananas on top. Every time a monkey went up the ladder, the scientists soaked the rest of the monkeys with cold water. After a while, every time a monkey went up the ladder, the others beat up the one on the ladder. After some time, no monkey dare go up the ladder, regardless of the temptation. Scientists then decided to substitute one of the monkeys. The first thing this new monkey did was go up the ladder. Immediately, the other monkeys beat him up. After several beatings, the new member learned not to climb the ladder, even though he never knew why. A second monkey was substituted, and the same occurred. The first monkey participated on the beating for the second monkey. The replacements repeated until what was left was a group of 5 monkeys that, even though never received a cold shower, continued to beat up any monkey who attempted to climb the ladder. If you asked the new group of monkeys why the beatings took place, the answer would probably be,
well, I don't know. That's just how things are done around here.
The bananas represent success. The ladder represents the work it takes to get to success. The monkeys were replaced. At the end of the experiment, you had 5 new monkeys that didn't know the consequence for climbing up the ladder, but they still participated in beating anybody who tried to go up the ladder because that's all they knew. So the mechanism for this mentality, I swear, it has to come from nature. It was a mechanism that at one point brought us community. It gave us a sense of communal identity as well as an individual identity and our relationship to it. But we have evolved to a point where we're able to exercise free will and either utilize that tool correctly or override it and use it incorrectly.
Thank you for that example. And for that short video, man, that was actually really nice. I appreciate that. Mind, would you mind? Why do you think people are more likely to follow the crowd than to stop and think for themselves?
it kind of goes like along what Evolving was saying. I feel like human beings just naturally have like a tribalistic innate feeling in them. Um, and I also feel like to point out a con of it and how it's utilized in the wrong way in our society, a lot of it's conformity. But there's other factors that go into that, and how they get people to conform and just accept certain things, and they just follow the lead. It's just acceptance. A lot of it has to do with acceptance as well.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Kindred, why do you think people are more likely to follow the crowd than to stop and think for themselves?
I honestly think just because they find it easier. It's easier to follow than to lead.
It's an interesting take. Thank you. Blue, why do you think people are more likely to follow the crowd than to stop and think for themselves?
Kindred just said what I was going to say, because it's easy. That's it. That's all I got.
Alrighty. So my next segment is about why do we fall for misinformation. So misinformation spreads really fast. Sometimes it's accidental. People just don't fact check before they're sharing. Other times it is deliberate. It's designed to manipulate opinions, create fear, and divide people. So my question for you all is, have you ever fallen for misinformation before? And what made it seem believable? Loon.
Yeah, I have. My dad told me a lot growing up that, there were certain things that I shouldn't believe in, and I just kind of believed it because, why would he say things that aren't true to me? I feel like a big part of it is it's usually figures of authority, and we're usually taught throughout life that one of the ways you can tell something is credible is if someone credible says it. But just because someone's credible doesn't mean they always tell the truth, and just because someone's been deemed credible doesn't mean they actually are.
Very good point.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. It was better than this hit.
Yeah, that was very well put. I appreciate the hell out of you. Coyote, since I'm skipping over Banish for right now.
I would say it's because we're conditioned to believe these circles. See, when we're kids, we're told, here's your home, and then don't go out front. And we put in these circles before we even know it. All these circles in our life dictate the way we think, and we don't think outside these circles or these boxes because there are biases. So we think it must be this way, for it was told to me that it is this way. And we get stuck in that affirmation. We're stuck in that mind space, man. Just do what you want. Just don't be afraid and just handle your business. Like, that's what the leader knows. That's what, the prophet knows. And anybody who understands anything knows. It's not a fair and equitable thing. There are people who get there with name, people get there with money, influence, and skill. Cheating is okay, and once you cheat your way into the top, you have the new market, you open it up, and then everybody copies you. This is the way of life.
Okay. Interesting standpoint. Thank you very much. Moon Clan, have you ever fallen for misinformation before, and what made it seem believable?
I believe everybody has been a victim of misinformation, right? And the reason behind that is if one person says, I have proof behind this, and shows the slightest bit of proof and convinces you that it's correct, then the information is believed, whether it's a false lie or not. And then it just spreads like wildfire from there. Like, have you ever heard of the game called Phone Call, right? You whisper somebody's ear and it changes along the lines, right? So the misinformation continues to go around even if it's said wrong, and everybody tends to believe it because it's easier to believe something than try and prove and discredit it.
Yeah, Phone Call, the game of grapevining. Absolutely, very good point. Seeds, have you ever fallen for misinformation before, and what made it seem believable?
Yes, I was around 6 years old. My parents told me religion, and I'm not even going to specify which one. And I just was like, I fell for it for a little bit, but not much and not long. But the reason why I fell for it at all, even a little bit, was because of the internal inherent connection that I have to source. So my young mind had no defense against their information. I'm like, well, yeah, I feel this. So yeah, that part's true. And then I'm analyzing. I'm like, so if I touch my wee wee though, I'm literally gonna go burn somewhere. Okay, I'm cool on this. So this is all a lie. I'm gonna go touch my wee wee now. Bye bye.
Jesus H fucking Christ. Well, thank you for that.
And that was the end of that. I never went back.
I appreciate you, man. Mind, have you ever fallen for misinformation before, and what made it seem believable?
I mean, yeah, I agree with Evolving. It does start at young. Like, we all fell for Santa. But I knew it was a lie because I caught the adults, putting gifts under the tree. After that day, I doubted everything. But I feel like as human beings, we all fall for misinformation, even like whether it be through politics or things of that sort. Like, it's because like there's a lot of like psychological and cognitive factors behind it. A lot of psychological warfare, and kind of like what Loon was what she pointed out, they'll use control opposition to paint this picture and keep us complacent. So yeah.
Thank you for that. Also, very good points. Kindred, have you ever fallen for misinformation before, and what made it believable?
I mean, we've all, yeah, at some point we all do, but I think it's, some people say it with such conviction, with such belief, like you can't help but fall for it because they just believe it themselves. Like, even if they sound delusional, they just speak it so, it's like, wow, really?
Thank you
Almost
very
like
much. And that go
believe in
ahead.
something.
You bring up a very valid point. One of the things that is utilized in the spread of misinformation is conviction, and bad actors know how to act real well. So my next question, starting with Loon, why do you think people hold on to false beliefs even after they're proven wrong?
I think my favorite analogy for this is, imagine if you went outside and someone told you the sky was purple, and you looked at it, and it's still the color it is, but they sat there and insisted that it was purple. You wouldn't listen to them, because why would you? You know for a fact that the sky is blue. The sky is blue, you're looking at it. It's not purple. But maybe it's called purple in another language. Maybe it's called purple you never knew. You don't know these things. These things, in this case, don't factor in. But in a lot of cases, you're taught something growing up, like in the cases of religion, and you can tell someone it's not true, but their whole life it's been true. So just because you say it's not, just because you show them other people saying it's not, they're not going to believe you because that's a fact of life for them.
You bring up a really valid point. People have a tendency to put faith into fallacy, which gives them kind of an echo chamber of their own for their confirmation bias, which we'll be talking about later on in the episode. I'm going to assume that Banish is still away. So, Joe, why do you think people hold on to false beliefs even after they're proven wrong?
Because a lot of false beliefs were rooted in older ages when people were dumb, and also because stuff rhymes. Like, if she smokes, she pokes, or things like we say, like the king of the jungle. Yeah, lions don't go to the jungle. They're in the plains. That's dumb. But hey, we keep it, right? People still say to this day, king of the jungle, even though lions aren't in jungles.
Thank you very much. Banish, are you available to answer the question?
I am.
Okay, so why do you think people hold on to false beliefs even after they're proven wrong?
Because it's easier to hold on to a belief system wrong or correct. It's easier, well, if you're wrong, it's easier to hold on to something, because it's harder to admit that you're wrong than it is to admit you're right.
Are you saying you don't find 50 Swift attractive?
Absolutely not. I do
Swift.
not find Taylor Swift attractive.
Wrong. You're
50
wrong.
Swift is the hottest thing on the internet.
Tell me about it, right? It does it for me. It's like white chicks.
So Moon Clan.
I'd probably have to say,
Guys.
Miley Cyrus.
Guys, let Moon answer the question, please. Moon Clan. Why do you think people hold on to false beliefs even after they're proven wrong?
I'm going to reiterate what I said, right? It's easier to live in denial than it is to accept the truth for what it is. It's easier to continue to push a lie than it is to let the truth come out. Because making something right is not the easy way to do it.
You bring up a really valid and devastating point, man. I really appreciate that. Seeds. Why do you think people hold on to false beliefs even after they're proven wrong?
First thing I want to say is if everybody could tap the screen in the comments and even some of us on the panel could share the live. This is really a good information, really awesome live. Whole ass. Real shit. And it just, that's one of those things that actually not a lot about this bugs me, but the fact that there's fucking asshats out there with a bajillion people in there just tapping away, like getting the type of exposure that these type of topics need. But to the point, people are cowards. Human beings are cowards. And the number one thing that they're afraid of is themselves, because there ain't shit else going on. And so they want to believe the lie. You have to want to believe some of this shit. You have to want to. You have to actively, deliberately want to, not just the cognitive dissonance that makes you dispel or feel, discomfort about the information. Oh, no. It has to be a deep-seated want. And I'll give you an example from one of my mentors, Mark Passio. He was talking to a woman after one of his conferences, and he said, what if you yourself found out for yourself that the United States government carried out, 9 November? And she said, I would choose not to see it that way. She said that. She said, I would choose not to see it that way. She would actively decide to believe what she herself knew was a lie. Now, how is that possible? It's the same as the guy on the Matrix, Cypher, who wanted to get unplugged. Her reality is not conducive to that concept. That concept is not conducive to that reality. Her government carrying out an atrocity against its own people is not conducive to her identity as a so-called, law-abiding, tax-paying, contributing member of society, quote unquote. So if her government can do that, then everything about her is a lie, and it is.
Thank you very much for that example, bud. I appreciate you. Mind. Why do you think people hold on to false beliefs even after they're proven wrong?
Because a lot of people don't know how to take accountability and just admit that they are wrong. A lot of it has to also do with the fact that they actually have underlying issues with low self-esteem, or they have like this obsessive necessity for validation. And if you tell them no, they're wrong, and they finally accept it, it's like you're pulling the rug right under their feet. So, yeah.
That's a good point. Shifting perspective is not as easy as it sounds. Well, at least not for folks who are devoted to their confirmation biases. Kindred, why do you think people hold on to false beliefs even after they're proven wrong? I cannot talk today.
I think it has a lot to do with them accepting it as their personal truth. So at the end of the day, you're not going to change their mind. Even with all the proof in the world, once it's their truth, it's law. They're just not going to let it go. Pretty much what everyone else up here said.
Thank you very much. You all brought up very, very good points, and they lead into my next section, which is confirmation bias. And it's basically ignoring the facts that challenge you. Have you ever argued with someone who refused to listen to evidence, no matter what proof you show them, and they just won't change their mind? That's because of confirmation bias. We're surrounded by news and other forms of media that spit the same drivel and the same bullshit at us to to drive a narrative, and because it fits with our own bias of the situation, we will believe that over raw, hard, in-our-face facts. So my question for the panels is: have you ever ignored facts because they didn't fit with what you wanted to believe? Loon.
Yeah, actually, I have. My dad has always kind of just been an objectively bad person, and he's my dad, so I've always kind of thought he was great, and it had to be something with me that was making it wrong. So no matter how many times even my mom told me it wasn't me, it was him, I never really fully believed it up until quite recently.
Okay, thank you for that. Banish, have you ever ignored facts because they didn't fit what you wanted to believe?
I have. It's I've ignored multiple different facts that, I mean, if I would have listened, it would have saved me a lot of hardship and suffering, but yeah.
Thank you for sharing, bud. Coyote Joe, have you ever ignored facts because they didn't fit what you wanted to believe?
Of course. We like to incite and hype things up. We got to go handle this person because this person wronged us, and it doesn't matter what you say because you got to come anyways. And this is what we do in the hood. We encourage each other to make bad decisions, and we do it as a group. And then we all lie about it to the cops and tell everybody else. And that's how you get caught. And then dumb people started putting it on Facebook, and I stopped messing with these people because I can't deal with criminals who snitch on themselves.
Yeah, definitely. OPSEC. Don't snitch on yourself. Moon Clan, have you ever ignored facts because they didn't fit what you wanted to believe?
I think all of us are guilty of this in a way, right? We're all shown the fact that gravity exists, yet we still take risks to jump off of certain things, and take those risks. It's going to end bad, but you're going to do it anyway because it doesn't fit what you want the outcome to be.
I appreciate you, bud. Seeds, have you ever ignored facts because they didn't fit what you wanted to believe?
In no institutional way have I ever engaged in that behavior a single time. But there was this one time when there was this girl, when I was younger, she had the booty of gods. And we were having a really good time, and I was being informed by her that she had been with every last one of my friends prior to us even meeting. So I wasn't judging her about that at all. And nor would I even be judging about her so-called quote unquote body count with the situation. But I ignored those facts. I was just like, okay, whatever, I'm just going to ignore it. And even believe the opposite. No, it's like not happened. I kind of sold myself on the idea that it wasn't happening. But she said that she didn't want to engage in the Congress with me because she felt like I was the one. And I just found that to be weird. I understood what she was talking about. But it was so weird. You want to wait with me because I'm special. I get that, but this is so weird. And so against my own super internal judgment, we never engaged in the Congress she wanted to. And I was just like, nah, man, this is weird. And it wasn't because she had been with all of my friends, literally every last one of them in this specific clique, but because she was excluding me in the moment. And I was just like, so it was just a personal situation. But institutionally, I have never done that. I have never looked at information regarding the government, race, gender, anything. Even when I was confronted with the idea that using the term female was sexist, schmexist, I stood in the face of it and I was like, wait, I didn't immediately reject it. I analyzed it and I realized that I don't hear people referring to men as males ever. So I knew inherently that if it was only going one way, that I, in fact, was engaging in harmful behavior. So, aside from that personal example, I don't do that shit institutionally. I don't even believe in that. If I have a belief system, it's not to believe beliefs.
And that's one of the things I really appreciate about you, because I'm along the same way. I insist on keeping my mind in a place where any of the things that I believe in can definitely be challenged and reconsidered. Mind, have you ever ignored facts because they didn't fit into what you wanted to believe?
Yes. It kind of goes back to what Loon stated with her personal experience. In the past, I have tried to hold on to certain people in my life, knowing that, certain information and knowing that they were, a detriment to me, not just emotionally, but just overall. So, yeah, most definitely. But, I also learned from that. So,
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Kindred, have you ever ignored facts because they didn't fit what you wanted to believe?
For the most part in life, I'm a very fact-based person. The one time I didn't listen led to disaster. I know the facts that marriage is not a good idea. Those are the facts. The statistics say they don't really last. Still got married. Yeah. But I wish I listened to the facts on that one.
I understand, and I'm sorry that you had to fall into that trap. That's a rough one for sure.
Married, but sometimes it just sucks so bad.
Well, thank you for that input and example. So my next question for the panel, can you think of a time when you changed your mind about something that you thought was true, and what made you reconsider? Loon.
Sorry, you cut out. Do you mind saying it one more time?
Yeah, no problem. The question is, can you think of a time when you changed your mind about something you held true, and what made you reconsider?
I guess I'll just go back to my dad. Like, I just started noticing the kind of people that he was supporting, because he's always been one to be like, look at the 5 closest people around you, that's who you are, da da da, And it's like, I started looking at the people that he was trying to emulate or trying to take advice from, and they were just objectively horrible people.
Valid, and thank you for that example. Banish, are you available to answer a question? Are you available to answer a question, Banish? All right. Coyote Joe, can you think of a time when you changed your mind about something you held true, and what made you reconsider?
Yeah, shoot. I was recently going to get a divorce, and then my abuser called me back up, and I said, I'll be running there soon, honey. Just you wait for me. I'm going to white knight the shit out of this, because I'm a crazy person. I don't listen to people, and I mean, it's my life, right? At the end of the day, I'm going to feel like shit if I don't do it, if I don't try. And every time I try, it teaches me another lesson. Hopefully one of these times, it'll be right. If not, just a little bit of emotional damage. Another scar. I got plenty of them. I'm actually pretty good at collecting them like trophies.
Well, I appreciate that example. Also, it sounds like a terrible decision. Moon Clan, can you think of a time when you changed your mind about something you held true, and what made you reconsider?
Yeah, that happened. That happened years ago. Like, I would say, when it
The
took.
hell? You cut out for a second.
Okay.
Go ahead. You just cut out for a second, that's all.
As I was saying, I believe that when I took my wedding vows, she said, until death do us part, and here we are now. We are no longer together, so I definitely had that changed.
Okay. Thank you for that example. Seeds, can you think of a time when you changed your mind about something you held true, and what made you reconsider?
Yes. I held true that I identified as an anarchist, someone who recognizes that anarchy means no rulers, not no rules. So someone who is an advocate against slavery, but the term or the phrase "I am an anarchist" is illegitimate. I am a human being who subscribes to anarchy. To say I am an anarchist is to say that I am a political theory, or I am a political or a socio-economic system, but I'm not. I'm a human being who subscribes to, advocates, and supports a socioeconomic system or a socioeconomic political system known as anarchy. But more directly, I'm an abolitionist. Excuse me. I did it again. I subscribe to abolition because again, I am not an abolitionist. I'm a human being who subscribes to abolition. To say that I am an abolitionist is to say that I am a system of abolition. I'm not. I'm an advocate of it. So that's one of the things. It's the language and keeping it extraordinarily concise, because the history's narrative is going to be bullshit still. If we think history is going to be bullshit, if we think history is bullshit now, wait until we can watch it and still call it bullshit. We're doing it now.
Absolutely. And you bring up a very valid thing that I'll be talking about in another episode, which is the concept of I am. Kindred, can you think of a time when you changed your mind about something you held true, and what made you reconsider?
I think my stance on violence would be the one that's most memorable. I used to be a real pacifist. You should never fight. You should never do this. You should never do that. But things in my life happen where it's like, no, violence sometimes is necessary. Not the bad kind, but you got to defend yourself. You got to fight sometimes.
Valid point. Also, something I'll be bringing up in another episode is the concept of pacifism when it comes to activism. I appreciate you. So, my next question, and it's not so much one that I want anybody to answer, it's just something that I want everyone to consider and spend time ruminating on. It's how can you challenge your own biases without feeling defensive? So this next segment is going to be about media control, and who decides what it is that we see. Every piece of news that you consume has been chosen for you by someone. Have you ever wondered who decides what stories get covered and which ones don't? And it's something that we should really be paying attention to. So my question for the panel is, do you think that media gives a full picture, half picture, or just a controlled version of reality? Loon.
Honestly, I think media gives a very controlled version of reality, and I think it's only gotten worse as time goes on. Look at what we see on TV. Look at all the stuff we're not seeing on American televisions, but on TikTok, you'll see people posting about it from other parts of the world.
It's a valid point. I really appreciate that. Banish, are you capable of answering right now? All right, I'll take that as a no. Coyote.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The question is, do you think media gives a full picture, a half picture, or a controlled version of reality?
Are we talking about legacy media or just social media?
All of the above.
Well, legacy media is an echo chamber. It's nothing but fear mongering, and it's not even fact anymore. It's all entertainment. Social media is a lot of opinion. Some scientists, some smart people, but so many dumb people drown out the smart people. You gotta have a good algorithm. And, there's always going out there and experiencing life. I know that's scary, but that would probably be a good barometer of, what's bull and what's not. But, you can never change anything until you change the narrative. If they tell you you can't, you gotta try. I take Pascal's wager as an infinite idea of the proponents of what you get if you win versus what you get if you lose.
Okay. Thank you for that. Moon Clan, do you think the media gives a full picture, half picture, or just a controlled version of reality?
It's all the above, because it's what your perception is, what you perceive it to be, right? You can either look and research it or source it, but it's what you choose to take on and believe. So it's all the above.
Okay. Thank you for that standpoint. Seeds. Do you think media gives a full picture, half picture, or just a controlled version of reality?
They give a full. This is the wild part about this, and how I know that they've made everybody think that their systems are objective, is to weave a spell that brilliant. There's actually a movie with the guy who plays Spider-Man. I forgot what his name was. Little guy, the new Spider-Man.
Tom McGuire?
No, the new Spider-Man. That's Tobey Maguire. Come
Andrew
on, man.
Jackson?
I'm old too, but damn. No, what's the new one? You know, the new one.
Miles Morales, the black one.
No, that's fairly new. One less new. But anyway,
One less
he
new
is
than that.
he's in this other movie where Tom Holland.
Tom
Thank
Holland.
you.
There you
He's in another movie where there's this planet that human beings have gone where men, we can see each other's thoughts over our head. Like everybody can see each other's thoughts over their head, but only men. Women,
Oh,
you
I've
can't
seen
see their
that
thoughts
one.
over their head. Right. So, ask your question again because there's a way I tie this back in.
Oh, the
Help me.
question is, do you think that media gives us a full picture, a half picture, or
Oh
controlled
yes.
version of reality?
So in the movie, the one of the masters, one of the good guys, he uses his mind so well. He's so sharp. He's so good at mentalism and his mind and controlling his mind that he tricks all the bad guys into thinking that he's giving up the people that they came there for. And in reality, it's just his mind thinking this so vividly real that it encompasses everybody else's real reality of the things they're not touching. So the environment that they're looking at two kids walking at them, handcuffed, everybody sweating and crying and all kinds of stuff, and none of it was real. So they give a very full picture of what they want you to see, what they need you to see. And it's a very comprehensive, like the Matrix ain't got no holes in it. They're not, no, like there are holes once you see it and once you know it, but for the average person not paying attention, just for their awareness, yes, they have to give you a very vivid, because when you're lying, you have to weave the lie. Very few components of it are based on truth. So those fill-ins have to be very, very real. You have to make them real. You have to imbue them. You have to enchant them. You have to, what's that word? Animate them with the full virtue of what you are, of the lie, because it's not real. So yes, they do a very good job of painting the picture perfectly for the lie that they tell, the total lie that they tell.
Thank you very much. You brought up a very valid point, which is something I'll be tying into the episode about I Am, which is the concept of mentalism. Decalicon, question for you. Do you think media gives a full picture, a half picture, or just a controlled version of reality?
Well, I just wanted to tell everybody to tap the screen because I'm just kidding. This is Evolving Seeds. I literally just figured out that I had a whole lot. So I've been tapping and making sure the thing is going good. And my phone needs a charge. So I'm just using my turn as Decalicon right now to tell you that I'm dropping Evolving Seeds because that phone needs a charge. And this one is going to be using Decalicon.
Sounds great, man. Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Pew pew, I shot you.
Kindred, do you think the media gives a full picture, a half picture, or just a controlled version of reality?
Yeah. I really don't.
I'm gonna skip this one. I really don't do the whole social media thing. Anytime I watch anything, it's fantasy stuff or documentaries.
Okay. So, controlled version of reality?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, cool. Thank you for your input. My next question for the panel is, how can you tell the difference between real news and corporate spin? Or do you know? Loon?
I think doing research is the best way I've found, honestly, to try and get to the bottom of what's real and what's not, using, again, just the resources I have available to me to see not only what other people have heard, what other people think, but what other people have heard and think from other parts of the world as well.
Thank you very much. I see Banish is still away. Joe?
I'm here.
Hey, how can you tell the difference between real news, corporate spin, or do you know?
I can tell the difference because I can fact check it in real time. Plus, you can feel intent sometimes. Like, stories are made to sensationalize, but still, there's something about it that doesn't make sense. And sometimes the craziest thing you hear is actually true, and the dumbest things that aren't true are actually lies. But you can always do the deep dive yourself, right?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Moon Clan, how can you tell the difference between real news, corporate news, or do you know?
Yes, it depends on how long you've been following the story, right? For an example, if you have been there from the beginning and you've witnessed the factual stuff fall into place piece by piece, you can decipher whether they're even going to admit to it happening if there was a tragedy that happened, whether they admit to it that's the way the tragedy happened, even though you lived through the tragedy. You get what I'm saying? Therefore, you can tell that they're lying because they refuse to admit that that's what happened and even accept it.
Thank you very much. Seeds. How can you tell the difference between real news, corporate news, and or do you know?
You really don't a lot of times, especially nowadays. So I always go for principles. Principles outrank news any day because you can apply principles to news, but you can rarely apply news to principles. So when a news story, I'll give you an example. Felon saves little girl. Does anybody see ex-con? Ex-con saves little girl. Does anybody see the false narrative in that statement with just so few words? That's a news headline from my teenage years. Would you believe that the ex-con was black and homeless? That's what it said. Homeless ex-con saves little girl. And when they interviewed him, he says they were calling him a hero. He said, "I don't want to be called a hero because I don't want you to make it seem like an unhoused person isn't capable of doing the right thing. Like don't tokenize me as like, oh, okay, well, unhoused people. He's an exceptional unhoused person because usually they're shit. Like, don't tokenize me like that." So the principle of how to analyze information lets me know that that's deliberate. You know what you're doing when you post some shit like that. Somebody said it was a YT man too, and it was like they said it wasn't like felon or ex-con, it was something else, but saves little girl. And it was like, why is there something prefacing their humanity in this? What is that? Why that? So yeah, and I got a little thing I'll do at the end called the false narrative. It's a couple paragraphs and it's a quick read, but yeah, it articulates that the system at large borrows its validity from the truth, and so that's how it engages in disseminating the news. And when you apply principles like objectivity, you realize that no matter what they're talking about, when you see it, it's very clear that it's deliberate and that they're painting a false reality.
Thank you very much for that. So my next segment is going to be about the concept of bread and circus, which is how distractions keep us from asking questions. So as some of you may know, the Roman Empire had a simple but effective trick to control the masses. Give them entertainment and cheap food, and they won't rebel. They called it panem and circenses, bread and circus. And guess what? We still have that today. Bread and circus is the idea that as long as people are fed and entertained, they won't question the power structures that govern their lives. It's a distraction tactic, one that has been used for thousands of years to keep populations passive, to prevent uprising and to divert attention from real issues. Think about modern society. While people struggle with poverty, debt, and inequality, what dominates the news? Celebrity scandals, political drama, endless entertainment. It's not that entertainment is bad. We all need fun, joy, and escapism, but when those things become a tool to keep people from paying attention to what really matters, it becomes a problem. Tonight, we're going to break this down. Where does bread and circus come from? How does it function today? And how do we recognize when we're being distracted? So let's go into that. The term bread and circus, again, comes from the Roman poet Juvenal, who criticized the Roman government for pacifying the people with cheap food and grand spectacles instead of addressing their struggles. While the empire collapsed under corruption, war, and failing infrastructure, the public was too distracted by chariot races, gladiator games, and free grain handouts to revolt. So a question for y'all. Have you ever heard of bread and circus before? And what did you think it means, or what do you think it means in today's context? Loon?
This is actually my first time hearing that term, so I don't think this question was for me.
Okay. All right. We'll pass over to Joe.
course I have. I'm a biblical man. Give us our daily bread. Pay your tithes and your offerings. Like it's a very universal thought, though. It's like basically EBT and football, right? Enough food and a little bit of entertainment. I mean, even the commercials are great. It's a spectacle. It's the one thing you have to look forward to because life is dull. It's the Christmas or your birthday or whatever. It's the one thing that you kind of get excited about when life basically just hands you an everlasting plate of poo-poo and sadness. You got that one thing. Keeps you in the game sometime. You really can.
Thank you very much for that. Moon Clan. Have you heard of Bread and Circus before?
So I'll
And
die
what
before
do
I
you
watch soccer.
Listen here, fucker. What do you think it means in today's context?
I may have never heard that terminology before until now, but there is similar terminologies that I have heard based off of the information that was put through that. It's basically a story, a little kid's storybook. When you give a mouse a cookie, then it will ask this, which creates a distraction and creates comfort. Therefore, it's not paying attention to possible danger it's going into.
That is a comparison I had not made before. Thank you very much for that. Seeds. Have you heard of Bread and Circus before, and what do you think it means in today's context?
Yes, I've been involved with researching the psychology behind Bread and Circus since I was like 13. And it functions today the same way it functions then. It makes you just comfortable enough not to revolt, just complacent enough to allow the incremental encroachment of tyranny, the encroaching footsteps of tyranny, to take ever so many steps closer to you, your freedom, and the security that you hold anyway. And it goes back to what everybody be talking about when they say people, it's easier to ignore that information. It's easier to watch a circus and eat than it is to deal with the fact that there's a ringmaster distracting you from your own misery.
Thank you very much for that input, bud. Kindred, have you ever heard of the term Bread Circus before, and what do you think it means in today's context? I take it Kindred is still away. Banish, have you heard of Bread and Circus before, and what do you think it means in today's context?
I have not heard of that.
Okay, good. I'm really honestly kind of glad to hear that there aren't a whole lot of people that have heard this term today. It means you're learning something new. I really appreciate that. Real quick, Rebels, have you ever heard of the term Bread and Circus before, and what do you think it means in today's context?
Bread and circus. No, I haven't heard that term before.
Good. Okay, good. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate it because that means that this is something I can actually educate people on.
Yeah.
So let's talk about today. What are some of the modern equivalents of Roman gladiator games? What are our distractions? Social media hold on. Social media feeds us sensational dramas. Shut the hell up. Social media feeds us sensationalized dramas, making sure we're angry at each other instead of at the system that exploit us. Reality TV influencer scandals, political fights that go nowhere. These things dominate our attention while corporate corruption, economic inequality, and human rights violations barely make the news. Meanwhile, real issues like housing crises, labor exploitations, environmental destructions are framed as, quote, too complicated or too boring for public discourse. So my question for the panel, starting with Loon, what are some of the biggest distractions that you have seen in media today?
Social media is definitely a big one.
Do you care to expand on that, or?
Yeah, sorry, just a second.
Hey, no worries. I can come back to you. Coyote Joe, what are some of the biggest distractions in media today that you have seen?
Just straight out lying. I remember when there was this orange guy that's we tried to pew pew, and CNBC was like, and the president fell today or something. I don't know what happened to him. Something happened to him. I don't know. Something. They tried to pew pew him. They tried to pew pew him, I guess. I don't know. They missed their bad shots. And it's like, are you fucking serious? So I'm pretty sure they got fired. But that's just crazy. Like, we've also seen things like the gentleman that was hiding in the cabin when they went in there and we're going to negotiate with them, and then they negotiated with all the PPUs they could shoot, put at him. That was a great negotiation. They show us reality and they lie to us about it. We watch them lie to us about it, and they're not even lying. They're not even hiding it anymore. It is just right out in front of your face. It's great. This is the fall of Rome.
Thank you very much. It is the fall of Rome. Thank you very much. Moon Clan, what are some of the biggest distractions that you have seen in media today?
Well, a big distraction that I've seen today. Now my thought elapsed. I did have something, and now it's just elapsed. Come back to me, Lass.
Host, you there? I got a dropout. Can everybody else hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear
But you gotta pause. Hang
All right,
on.
give me one.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I was gonna sing
I'm here. Sorry, my
8675309,
phone is doing weird
so you
shit.
better be lucky.
I'm here. So the question is, what are some of the biggest distractions that you have seen in media today?
Whose turn is it?
Yours.
All right.
Anderson Cooper.
8675309. I'm just kidding. Okay.
God damn. I mean, you're correct.
Let's go down the list. NFL, Nike, Kardashians, Real World, and I'm not going to do this in any specific order. Fashion as a whole, because fashion didn't even real actually commercial fashion didn't even exist until like the 1600s or something like that. Before that, everybody just wore what the fuck they can get, even rich people. What else? Streaming services. Even though they teach us a lot, movies. Let's see. Everything that Amazon is, even when it was just books. Rollerblading, skateboarding, snowboarding, even those things with the new ones where it's just one wheel and you stand on it. Advertisements. If you have a Seiko watch, that. And if you have a Rolex, that too. The whole concept of hats. I can go on. So go ahead.
God wants you to wear a hat, sir. Don't you deny it.
So, Rebels, what are some of the biggest distractions in media that you have seen today?
I can tell you I've experienced it, and seriously, I've just had to take a 3-day media break from streaming because I can't get my housework done. So,
Fair enough.
basically, yeah. So streaming, definitely running a team on streams, gifting, all of that kind of stuff. That takes away from a lot of different things, including family and all of that stuff. And as far as media goes, like you've got music and all of that kind of stuff. I wouldn't say fashion because look, I'm a fashion designer, so. But other than that, actually, the news is actually probably the biggest disturbance and distraction. I would have to say the news outlets and medias on putting those things out on like other feeds like WhatsApp, Facebook, all of that, regurgitating misinformation, all the, those are very big distractions, I think, and politics as well. Whilst politics is needed, sometimes I think it's really not. But, I guess we need it in some respect to actually get the world moving along in, a better manner. So, yeah, it's just that for me. And I guess also, look, my 2 stepchildren, I love them to death, but I think I should kill CoComelon for the day. I've had enough of CoComelon. I think there's just so much. Having multiple devices really is a distraction, a media distraction as well. And all the wars around the world, big distraction, but also much needed for advocacy. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I don't think we can, in this day and age, look or turn our heads to one corner or the other, or even look left or right without having a distraction, to be honest. But sometimes it's needed. No.
Thank you very much for that input. Now, with that input, I want to open up the panel for a brief moment to see if anybody would like to discuss that topic. I'll get to you in a minute, Vanish. Just one moment. Does anybody want to address anything that has been said by anybody else in the panels, top to bottom? Okay, fantastic. Vanish, what are some of the biggest distractions that you have seen in media today?
I could definitely say hats is one of them in fashion, but the biggest one I see for me is social media as a whole. Because as I want to point out, I was just running through a whole train yard while sitting on TikTok live. Not ideal. So I'd say social media is a big distraction. People tend to utilize it when it's not always the smartest option. TV, technology as a whole.
You bring up some valid points and a different take on distraction than I was intending, but also very valid. A lot of people utilize technology and medias when they are doing things they really should be paying full attention to. Thank you for bringing that forward. My next question for the panel. How does outrage-driven media serve as a form of circus for the public, according to your perception? Loon.
Did you want me to finish answering my question, or do you want me to move on to this one?
I mean, go ahead and answer the first question first, which is what are some of the biggest distractions in media today that you've seen?
Okay, I was saying social media, but specifically, the Meta's hyper boosting of not safe for work content on everyone's accounts. I mean, you even see it on Instagram, and it's a lot worse on things like, I guess it's X now, and I mean, even Facebook is getting kind of bad. Alright, and second question real quick.
Second part of the question was, how does outrage-driven media serve as a form of, quote, circus for the public, according to your perception?
Because it gets people angry at the wrong things. You start focusing on the wrong small details instead of looking at the big picture. You know, I mean, the point we're at is it doesn't matter, you know, who you voted for at this point, because you can't change that. It matters if you still believe that was a good idea or not, you know, and what that means based on who you voted for, I feel like. And a lot of people are getting caught up in the semantics of, oh, you didn't vote at all, or, oh, you voted for this person. And it's like, I feel like at this point, if you regret it and you're willing to do something about it, you know, and not just sit there and cry about it, then, you know, you need to stop focusing on just boo-hoo, poor me, and other people need to stop focusing on we could never work for them because they already did it.
Thank you for bringing up the point of divisionism. I really do appreciate that. Coyote Joe, how does outrage-driven media serve as a form of circus for the public today, according to your perception?
Well, you know, in this world where we need bipartisanship, it doesn't seem like that's ever going to happen because, you know, I was taught never catch the chickens where they hatch. You know, it's not even halftime yet. There's a lot of game left. See, when somebody has their chance to do something and they fail, you can put them to the spit. You could get your pound of flesh, but you can't call the game early. You can't be like, they lost, it's the second inning. That's not how the game works. So you have to wait. But people want to incite and people want to be salty. I mean, people look really sad sometimes when they're on TV because their team isn't winning. I thought we were Team America. I guess there's no united in us, right? For we can't be united because we're always divided. For we all have our own teams. And my team is not your team. So we have to segregate and we have to degregate. This doesn't make me sound like Al Sharpton, but it's some silly idioms that people tell themselves to make themselves feel better when they want to be part of the pack. This is sheep mentality. Think outside the box, go look for the information and figure it out. Craft your own unique ideas and run from there. You'll be a happier person in the end. I don't like to eat caca. Not my thing.
I don't think anybody likes to eat caca, but okay, I appreciate that.
People like caca.
How does outrage-driven media serve as a form of circus for the public, according to your perception?
I'm sorry. Rephrase that.
according to the way you have viewed media and the way it is distracting people, how do you think outrage-driven media serves as a form of circus?
Well, it's purely entertainment at that point, right? Everybody likes to see a good argument going in front of them and eat popcorn and watch it go down, right? That analogy goes to it. And when you're seeing it go down, you're like, it's better than me, as an example, right? So that's one way of looking at that perspective. And I want to answer your first question when you say like social media serves as a distraction, right? I say anything that's happening. It can even be like, you're going through a really tough part of your life that serves as a distraction of what's going on in front of you.
You're correct. There are a lot of things in our own personal lives that serve as a distraction from what's going on the greater scale of things, but we're talking more about media and the way it manipulates the control of our attentions to distract us from what's going on around us. But I do appreciate your standpoint, bud. Seeds. How does outrage-driven media serve as a form of circus, according to your perceptions, for the public?
And just so you know, you are now streaming to Evolving Seeds is live, so that I can actually use this dialogue to bring awareness. I've tagged you in the live so that people can come over here and check it out. And I appreciate you. No, I appreciate you. It's actually helping to boost and entertain anybody that comes into my live. They have to hear the kids in the background though. They don't get the filtered muted version. But the way that it does, it gives people the illusion that they're participating when they argue and when they engage in these political and these seemingly social justice concepts and topics. It gives them the impression that they are actually engaged in some kind of work. Because there is actual physical exertion or physical energy put into it. The time that one is taking to argue a point, whether they know anything about it or not, this new climate is engineered to make everybody feel like an activist, even if they really the fuck are the complete opposite and doing the complete opposite work.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that input, man. That was fucking valuable. Rebels, how does outrage-driven media serve as a form of circus for the public, according to your perception?
Well, you only have to look at the Palestinian war. And it like certain people were getting actually from a lot of the Palestinian support groups. Obviously, like they really drove the media with it really become a whole circus with it. And and the outrage that actually formed, against humanity, the crimes committed against humanity and the G side, as I'll call it. We won't say that word. So with the G side, so that's just run the whole circus. And then there was the political agenda. Then you had the religious agenda. And then the whole thing become a big circus again, like as if we're still stuck in 2001 again. So, it definitely is something that I still get chills and goosebumps about. I think it just, every time I hear about it or see it or I fly my Palestinian flag, like I feel like it's just one of those things that, they were putting out a lot of media of people who had never given permission to actually be filmed, due to crisis. And I feel that was a violation on their part, and putting out babies with half a body and, images of like mothers and men being raped by Jewish soldiers and, it's just absolutely appalling. I have a song for it. I don't know if you want to hear it, but
maybe after the segment.
After,
I appreciate that.
No, yeah. And I just want to add.
You gotta say grape and unalive. You gotta use TikTok for any language here.
Yeah, I didn't.
The US is real sensitive.
The other word. So they had a lot of things going on. There is, however, one concept which I just discovered last night on Netflix. Netflix is also a distraction, but I feel like Netflix, you can actually learn.
or injured.
I think it's a good, that and YouTube can be educational to some degree. There is one on there which I thought of you. There is a movie on there which I actually thought of you, Sludge, when I seen the preview for it. Comes out next, I think, on the 14th of March. And it's the concept of the movie is one where humanity and robots all join forces against the system. Now, wouldn't that be an interesting concept?
It would
So
be
I
interesting
just,
for sure.
yeah, I thought that's something maybe. Yeah. I'll have to check the title
Absolutely.
and send it to you. Because we were talking about that yesterday. But going back to this thing, yeah, just mainly all the wars and stuff, and I think it's just one big massive media circus. Every time an issue comes up with either religion or, you know, some type of political warfare or something, you know, and it's a major distraction to the rest of the world. It's a major disturbance. It's not just a distraction. It's not actually something. Distraction wouldn't even give it any merit, to be honest. I think it would be sort of more of a great disturbance of the world because it disturbs our mind every day. And I feel like, yeah, we need to not allow it. So this is why usually I try during Ramadan to actually go on a media fast. Try and get off social media for at least a few days out of the month, or try and even do it for the whole month if I can. Because
that's
then
a great idea.
Yeah, I don't like to line the pockets of the rich anyway, and I like to feed the poor. So,
Fantastic.
or the broke. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank
Yeah,
you very
can I,
much.
can I answer that? Actually,
Go
my
ahead.
grandmother's
Let's try to keep it
Korean,
quick. I'd like
and
to get.
my grandmother's Korean, and she actually told me there's this thing that they do in Thailand where they take a day of no talking, and it's like a spiritual thing. It's a spiritual regeneration thing that they believe in, where they just don't talk at the end of the year. It was a crazy thing that she used to do.
That's cool. Okay, so Banish. How does outrage-driven media serve as a form of circus for the public, according to your perception?
Outrage is an easy form of distraction. The easiest way to keep people, separated and distanced from each other is create a divide, whether that be racial background, sexuality, religion, whatever. If they keep us divided in a sense, we tend to forget that there's more of us than there are them.
Valid. You hit the reason right on the head, man. I appreciate that. Kindred. How does outrage-driven media serve as a form of circus for the public, according to your perception?
I'm sorry, I just got back. I was dealing with the dogs. What's the question?
So how does outrage-driven media serve as a form of, quote, circus for the public, according to your perception?
It's just something to fill bored people's time. At the end of the day, that's kind of what it is. They find a reason to rally and get up and put on their boots and go out and do something.
I like that take on that. Thank you very much. My next question for the group, and we'll start off with Loon again. Can you think of a moment where you realized you were focused on something meaningless while something more important was happening that you should be paying attention to?
Low-key, I was worried. I was worried about the dishes. I was worried about the dishes all the time, and I didn't know why. Because I've never been super anxious about chores. Honestly, I forget them more often than not. And then I realized it was because I needed literally anything else to focus on other than the relationship I was in.
Okay. What about in media? Can you think of a moment where you realized you were focused on some celebrity thing or political thing when you should have been focusing more on something immediate and life altering?
Honestly, no. I'm not very like honestly, I didn't even know what Johnny Depp looked like reliably up until a couple years ago. I am not super inclined. Like I know random references and I know random things that I end up getting into, but that's about it.
Okay.
Sorry, that's why I gave a personal example.
No, you're good. Thank you very much. Joe, can you think of a moment when you realized you were focused on something meaningless while something more important was happening?
Yeah, a lot of my adolescent life, we're told to look out for these things and check these messages and, look for these signs. And we're told a lot of things that don't make sense to us until we get older and you realize what they really are. And I can't hear anything. Did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you just fine.
Okay, cool. I'm going to stop there because I got you back.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Moon Clan, can you think of a time or a moment when you realized you were focused on something meaningless while something more important was happening?
Yes, I could say I was watching, on my phone, doing my thing, watching separate videos as something important on the news came on, for an example, and that's the best example I can give.
Fair enough. Seeds. Seeds? Seeds? Are you there, buddy? All right, we'll move on to Rebels. Rebels, can you think of a moment when you realized you were focused on something meaningless while something more important was happening?
Yeah, I guess, I do that a lot. Yeah, definitely. Actually, today, me taking this little break that I want to take. I've been meaning to do it. I should have been, more focused on my prayers and getting up in the morning. Instead, I was so focused on, running my team and running, my TikTok and booting members out who are no longer putting their DPs up. And, I really should have been focused on my kids and, spending more time with them and doing their education lessons and stuff with my stepchildren. And so I stopped today and I paused and just actually took a break. And then as soon as I jumped on just to actually do something for one of the team, then, it sort of started again where I was distracted again and everyone jumped in the live and they're like, oh, she's here. Like, okay, Nicki Minaj know me? Me ask somebody? Nah, I'm good. So I always say that to people.
Well, thank you for that lived experience.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Banish, can you think of a time where you realized you were focused on something meaningless while something more important was happening?
Yeah, I do this quite a bit, but improper usage of technology at the wrong time. Might that be somebody might be wanting to talk to me about something important, or I might be venturing into something that probably should be focused on, but I've noticed that I let social media just kind of distract me a lot.
Yeah, it'll do that for sure. Kindred, can you think of a moment where you realized you were focused on something meaningless while something more important was going on?
Yeah, pretty much the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp thing. My relationship was in a pretty crappy place, and I would completely ignore my husband to see what the hell was going on between those two.
Valid, and thank you for sharing your lived experience. Alex, can you think of a moment when you realized you were focused on something meaningless while something more important was happening?
What was the second part, or what?
Can you think of a moment where you realized you were focused on something meaningless while something more important was happening?
Yeah, shit. Going back to when I said I was going back to when I said I was in the car sales, I was thinking about the money, and then I realized, yo, there's a lot of free shit going on, and I realized I'm trading my humanity because I'm putting people in SLAV, the rest.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, so there's a finance game going on here. And then I realized I'm being cheated out too because I'm bringing in millions for these businesses and I'm getting pennies on the dollar. I'm like, all right, y'all got me selling my humanity and y'all ain't even paying me good enough. That's some bullshit. And then when and it's interesting because that was right after the 2020 phase, what we went through then. So I realized, man, there's a lot of fuckery, bro. I was like, life to me, that was it. I was like, oh, a lot of important shit is happening in front of me, and I'm over here stuck. Like, and I used to be in the party industry, and I thought, that was cool and whatnot. And I was like, damn, I'm missing out on a lot of important stuff, and got back into knowledge, learning about things and how they work and whatnot. And I missed that side of myself, so I'm glad I got back to that side. I hope that was a good example. I don't
Yeah,
know.
fantastic. And
I'm
thank you
back,
for
by the
sharing your
way.
lived experience. Cool. So can you think of a moment where you realized you were focused on something meaningless while something more important was happening?
Yeah. As a solutions focused activist, I do admit that I have a few ways of decompressing, and these things are the few things that I engage in, and one of them is GTA, and it goes back to principles. I don't pay attention to a lot of things that seem like or would obviously be important because the spectacle or the sensationalism surrounding it is obviously bread and circus. So I don't engage in it. So while that's going on, like the whole Diddy thing or anything like that, I'll just be sitting there playing GTA and smoking a fatty and engaging with lives like this. So like I'm sure right now that there is something that requires more attention. Like it's important and it affects me vaguely or maybe even specifically, but there's literally nothing I can do about it. So we gotta choose where to engage our time and where to disengage it in favor of our own mental health and our own ability to continue to do anything about anything.
Absolutely, and thank you for that one lived experience and two really good example. So I want to talk about the psychological trap. So let's talk about why this works so well, why we get sucked into distractions even when we know we're being manipulated. So there's three main psychological reasons for this. The first one being dopamine and escapism. Our brains crave instant gratification. It's easier to scroll through TikTok or binge watch a show than it is to read about wealth inequality or climate change. Another psychological reason would be information overload. The modern world is exhausting. It's easier to focus on fun, simple stories than on complex, depressing issues. And a third reason would be outrage and division. The more we fight each other, the less we unite to demand systemic change. And that's why news media fuels culture war instead of discussing how billionaires exploit workers. So my question for the panel, do you ever feel too overwhelmed to pay attention to real issues? Loon.
Yeah, as someone who deals with chronically stressful events, I feel like a lot of the time I'm too tired to want to do things. I suck it up and do it anyway because I've been forced to also do that my whole life. But being tired really does stop a lot of things from being possible.
Okay. Thank you for that. Coyote Joe, do you ever feel too overwhelmed to pay attention to real issues?
Sometimes I do get overwhelmed that I have to take that blue pill. And I gotta be like Cyphers, I gotta sit there and have a talk with him and tell him, look, I know this isn't real. I know this steak isn't steak. When I cut into it and I taste it, for all I know, it tastes like chicken. It's better than oatmeal. Ignorance is bliss. Sometimes you drink the Kool-Aid, man. Sometimes you want to believe. and you don't want to take that red pill. You don't want reality. You don't want to wake up and find out that you're the Nebuchadnezzar. You're going to Zion, and everybody probably smells like ass. You don't want to know that. You want to be in the Matrix. It's cool in there. Because ignorance is bliss. You can't unlearn the process of the hot dog you made, and you can't unsee the things that you see. You can't undo them, man. There's some experiences that scar you for life, or just really mess up your understanding of things and take you down a really bad bias thing where you might not ever rebound from it. And it's unfortunate, but that's life, right? It's not how many times you fall down, it's how many times you get up.
Thank you for your perspective, bud. Moon Clan, do you ever feel too overwhelmed to pay attention to real issues?
All the time, it feels like, quite honestly. There's a lot of information being thrown at us all at once, like info commercials and commercials in general. Buy this, buy that. Becomes overwhelming and exhausting after a while. So, yeah.
Okay. And thank you for that input. Seeds, do you ever feel too overwhelmed to pay attention to real issues? Is right now an example?
Wait,
all right.
what'd you say?
I said, do you ever feel too overwhelmed to pay attention to real issues?
No.
My man. Rebels, do you ever feel too overwhelmed to pay attention to real issues?
I think I feel sometimes overwhelmed with just my own issues. And my own mental health at some point. But then, I always try to, as they say, stay woke and try and, get involved in something. But yeah, sometimes I do feel too overwhelmed to deal with it. And I think, but I also, when I am aware of it, I also try to raise awareness about it. So, I think I have a bit of a balanced sort of approach to it. But there are times, yes, that I do feel overwhelmed, though.
Okay. And thank you for your input.
Thanks.
So, Kindred, do you ever feel too overwhelmed to pay attention to real issues?
Yes, that's why I'm back on TikTok currently.
Fair enough. Thank you very much for that lived experience. I feel like I felt that one in the core of my soul. Alex, do you ever feel too overwhelmed to pay attention to real issues? Alex? Is this an example? Fair enough. Okay, so with that, I want to take a short break. I'm going to end the live for a quick moment and come back. When we come back, we don't have to worry about getting up to 20K taps because the next part is literally just going to be discussing how we can break free from the bread and circus trap. We're going to address what it is to enjoy entertainment without being manipulated by it, which I think is an important thing for us to understand and to engage in. In the meantime, I want everybody to go ahead and just take a break, get some breath in, spend some time decompressing a little bit, do something to distract yourself a little bit, engage in healthy distraction for a moment, and then I will send out the call when it's time to come back in if everybody would be willing to join me, and I'll see y'all in about 20 minutes.
See you in 20 minutes. I think the first time is coincidence, the second time is
Okay.
what is it? Second time is
As long as you're not booting the ball in the head again.
Boot us all in the head. That's my favorite part.